Welcome into the CHGO White Sox Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome into Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm Sean Anderson, the host of the CHGO White Sox Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson, and we have a full CHGO White Sox crew. He's still back from Australia. Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. And the man in the middle is Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him on Twitter at Eckernwall23. We do have like a festive set now. We have lights, but you can't see them.
People can't see them, but no. they're back
beautiful.
There. Christmas lights.
It is the season, everybody, to be trading and giving gifts, and we're going to continue our trading series from yesterday. We went through each and every division of the National League and gave a player that the White Sox could be interested in, or pie in the sky idea. But we're just trying to figure out what teams or what players could possibly be a part of the first or one of the deals the White Sox could make this offseason. So in this show, we will be going through the American League divisions, each and every team, trying to see if there's any players that stick out. And we will also be ending the show with a big kind of, this is our prediction of what trade might happen. As Vinnie shakes his hand. But we do have some certainty. Carlos Correa, no longer a Twin. He's going to San Francisco. 13 years, $350 million. Wow.
Man, excellent for him. Excellent for him to bet on himself, get out of that contract in Minnesota. As I said, as soon as he had the opportunity to do it, he would. Minnesota, for their part, good job on them for first signing him and then trying to re-sign him. I heard that the average annual value for the Minnesota contract was higher than the one that he's eventually signed with the Giants, but you see the trend. 13 years for him. 13 years for Bryce Harper, 11 years for Trey Turner, 11 years for Xander Bogaerts. These guys are wanting the security of years and the no trade clauses, not the big annual average value. They want the end of the money. It's $350 million in my pocket. That's great. And so White Sox, Cubs, all these teams who are, kind of shying away and seeing the market go the way it is, it's not going anywhere. Big-time players, and you see like the last 10 or 11 big-time players who are young enough to get these long-term deals are signing them. They're not signing the 5-year deals to get out and get a second bite at the apple. They're getting certainty. Give me my money. I'll be 41 at the end of this contract. Cool. And somebody said, don't do the math on 13 years from now for yourself because you'll get depressed. And I did, and it was sad.
38.
Oh, God damn. You're still younger than I am right now.
45.
That's not that
Being
bad.
an old man.
Mm-hmm. It's a good record, Good, but what do you make of the Carlos Correa contract?
Yeah, great for Carlos Correa, right? Listen, I'm not saying that these guys are tricking anybody, you know what I mean? We're talking, those guys that you just listed off, these are the best players in baseball. Mm-hmm. The best players in the world at what they do. And remember, this is, an industry that is in an economic world all itself. Mm-hmm. Do not compare what Carlos Correa is making to what anybody that doesn't play a professional sport is making. But, that's a gigantic number and a gigantic number of years to be looking at. And Teams are like, all right, I guess this is what we got to do now. Mm-hmm. And good job by the players, good job by guys like Scott Boras, who have turned this from, very recently, just a 13-year contract. Are you joking? Into there you go. This is reality. And listen, they did their job. Their job is to get as much money as they possibly can, and boy, did they do it. To think that Carlos Correa is going to be making as much money in 2023 as he is when he is 41 years old. Good job.
You got that?
Good job for him. It's good news for the White Sox because the San Francisco Giants do not play in the American League Central, and it's good news for the White Sox, not just now, but for the next decade, by the way, that Carlos Correa won't be playing for the Minnesota Twins. But at the same time, you can't help, and again, I'll find little sympathy here from the folks watching, but you can't help but feel bad for a team like the Minnesota Twins, who are not a market like New York, LA, Chicago, even Philly or San Francisco. Still, we're trying really hard to play with the big boys and to do something that could get them a MVP caliber player to build around for the next decade. It really is kind of that have and have nots thing, but at the same time, you're a professional sports team. You're all worth $1 billion. Go ahead.
Right. If you're a Twins fan and you see that you lose out because they offered him 13 years into his 40s, and you still made a somewhat larger offer, $285 for 10.
It's a huge contract offer, right? It's just not as big as the biggest one. It's very reminiscent of when the White Sox reported offer for Manny Machado, right? Where it there is a way in which this is better, but it's not at the end of the day the biggest amount of guaranteed money, which is the Twins kind of ended up with the same thing.
Technically, he will get $70 more million than what the Twins offered him. That's huge. That's a huge difference in your lifetime because he's not going to make this money any other time. This is it. Carlos Correa is done for his life making money. This is his last contract. He'll be done. And so 10 years, at the end of 10 years, he'll be 38. Is he going to get from year 38, 39, and 40, 38, 39, and 40, and 41, $70 million? No. So might as well take the more money. And it's good that Minnesota was in that ballpark, but also not really in that ballpark because $70 million is a huge ass difference.
I mean, like, would you be annoyed as a Twins fan, or would you just get it?
I would get it. And also, I mean, and people who can argue this, and especially tax people, you going to California, going to San Francisco, that $70 million is going to be gobbled up anyway, so you might as well have went to Minnesota because you're going to probably pay that in taxes over the lifelong of the contract. So if I'm a Minnesota Twins fan and I know I don't do that or my team doesn't do that, patting on the back is a weird thing. But yeah, you offered, you tried. Getting him last year was a steal, and this year you didn't get him. That sucks. But there's other people out there I think the Minnesota Twins can get, and everybody will be like, man, Twins are doing work. That was a good offseason for the Twins. If they get Rodon, if they get any of these players, if they want to go into the market to get Dansby Swanson, they would probably have a great offseason right there.
And there was one question, I think it was from White Sox Tom, basically saying Miguel Cabrera and Pujols are kind of the signs that long-term contracts don't work. Do you agree with that, disagree with that? Because we've seen the corpse of Miggy, tear it up in Detroit recently.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was a stretch there where Miguel Cabrera was the best player in baseball.
Thank you.
I mean, that's what you got. I mean, 2012, I was there, I believe, the night I was there in Kansas City the night the Tigers won the division that year, and Miguel Cabrera won the Triple Crown that year. I mean, this guy was a perennial MVP candidate. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't know what you think you're paying for other than that. The Phillies signed the 13-year contract for Bryce Harper. They don't make the World Series this year without Bryce Harper. Exactly. I mean, they're getting what they wanted out of that. The Tigers went to the World Series in a year that they had Miguel Cabrera there. So, listen, you can talk about investing in the now and it coming back to bite you later down the road. But if you get what you paid for over a period of that contract, I'm not really sure how you can be upset with that deal as the team. Even if maybe way down the road when you're the rebuilding Detroit Tigers, man, you wish you had some more money off the books. But listen, I mean, Miguel Cabrera built a Hall of Fame career by what he did during that contract in Detroit.
Absolutely. And then when he got re-upped for 8 more years, I mean, the past 8 years, he's still about a 110 OPS hitter. So, I mean, he's not like below average. He's not great. It's not a great investment, but he hasn't been that bad. And we just saw Albert Pujols go on a crazy tear late in his career. So, I don't know. Carlos Correa might have something still left in the tank at 41.
He was signed at 32 years old, Miguel Cabrera, to an extension. And like you said, I'm looking at the numbers right now. 283 batting average, on base 35% of the time, 357, and 439 slugging percentage for a 796 OPS plus, an OPS plus of 117. That's a good hitter. Mm-hmm. And you got, like Vinnie said, you got his prime years. He was 32 when he signed that contract. Correa's 28. So it's a huge difference. You could say that maybe Trey Turner's deal a little suspect. Same thing with Xander Bogaerts. But you're not paying for years 38, 39, 40. You're paying for now. Right. And going forward. These deals are good. These are what the deals are going to be in the future. Yeah, they're a roll of the dice and they're a risk. But damn it, if you're going to want a big-time player, you got to get into this market. If you're opposed to doing this, you got to do like the Tampa Bay Rays do and make players and have player development go well for you because you're not going to get in this ballpark, and this is where the top players are. That's where they are, and that's where they're going to be at. And they're not going to sign away from Scott Boras or go away from this trend for a while. So either get used to it or start developing players a little bit better.
It's almost like Scott Boras and agents and just Major League Baseball players in general have found a way to bring the posting fee from Japan over to free agency, right? Where it's like, all right, I'll join your team next year, but you got to give me that posting fee with 3 years on the end of this contract a decade from now.
Yeah. Well, I do wonder what you guys make of like the health of the sport too. Like Carlos Correa was like the last big fish. I guess you could say Swanson is, but even before December 14th, a lot of them are off the market. Like we've seen a lot of these go into the Machado and Harper thing go into February and March. Is it good for baseball that these deals have been done early?
It's exciting for the fans, I think, because of the way that they came and the brief period of time in which they were coming, boom, 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 boom. It's not like you just are sitting around waiting with your eyes fluttering because you're so tired of waiting, and then one day in early February, it's like, oh, big news finally happened. This is kind of the way things used to work, right? A very busy winter meetings and just a bunch of free agent signings and really big ones before Christmas. For the last 3 years or so, maybe even a little more, that really hasn't been the case. I think it's more fun. It brings more fun to the offseason. In terms of the health of the sport, I would have to imagine that your sport's doing pretty healthy if you got teams handing out billions of dollars worth of contracts to the top players. I'm always of the opinion that, you can compare baseball to the NFL and the NBA all you want, but when every team in the league is worth over $1 billion, I think you're doing just fine.
Not wrong about that.
Yeah, the health of the sport is good right now. The fan base, I think, is dwindling because of this is an older man sport. And so people who grew up with baseball, like myself and you guys, we still enjoy baseball. But people who are younger than me, they don't enjoy baseball as much as I did. So are they going to be here when that end of that Carlos Correa contract is over and I'm 57 and I'm in the perfect market for baseball? I'm finally in the demographic they're looking for. What happened to the people behind me? That's the problem that I run into. And AJ brings up a good point. Is $27 million even going to be that much money 10, 12 years from now? Like, it's going to be a drop of the bucket. You talked about the Barry Bonds deal in 1990 or 91, and it was like, what, $5 million? For like the highest contract in baseball at that time?
So when Barry Bonds, after leaving Pittsburgh to go to San Francisco, signed a 6-year, $43 million contract, which is exactly what Eloy Jimenez signed.
Wow, how about that?
Right, and he didn't even pick up a bat.
Well, and that's what Justin Verlander will make just this year.
Yes.
$43 million. Yeah.
So no,
and
$27 million.
He's 40 something, and he's 40 years old.
Yeah. For the team that's like backed by Target, $27 million should not be that much in 10 to 12 years.
Certainly, I've spent probably close to $27 million at Target. So
Buy some people. Come on, Twins.
By Correa, specifically. I'm glad he's not in the team.
Oh, so awesome.
But yeah, really the only two big dominoes left to fall are Carlos Correa and Dansby Swanson. So we'll see what happens there. Oh, Carlos Rodon. What did I say? Correa. My bad. Swanson and Rodon. So we'll see what happens there. There was some stat that was shown to me, the streamer projections for Fangraphs, showing like
Steamer.
That was streamer.
No,
that was like
that's Netflix.
Oh. Yeah. Well, there's also like streamers in fantasy play. So I thought it was just like a fantasy term, but steamers. They went through. I think it was this kid Griffin on Twitter. He went through each and every team and put together like how many players are projected to have a weighted runs created plus of 110 or higher. The Sox were at 8. Now, one of those 8 was Mark Payton, so I don't know how much you want to take too much of stock into that. No. Moncada was 2 points off.
Wait, one of them was Mark Payton?
One of them was Mark Payton.
What? Why?
I don't know. Probably taking in his minor league projections, and Charlotte's so boosted, so like he had a really good Charlotte year.
But he's not going to be on the team.
I don't know if they actually have him listed as their left fielder, since they technically don't have a left fielder, and they could put Eloy at designated hitter.
So I just wanted to clarify. Like, yes, they did have 8, but one of them was Mark Payton. But then the team that led it was the Cardinals with 11. And I just saw that, and I'm like, that team should be if you're signing Wilson Contreras, you should be going out and getting Carlos Rodon. That last big domino should be falling in St. Louis, in my opinion.
I mean, really, when's the last big-time free agent that they signed?
Cardinals?
Yeah.
Contreras is like
I mean,
Arenado?
at the top of the thing.
Arenado was a trade.
Yeah,
Goldschmidt
was a trade.
Okay.
These are all trades.
Well, that's okay.
Holiday was a trade.
Either.
Yeah, I'm saying they don't really their market is what the White Sox are trying to do: trade for better players. But the thing is, the White Sox don't have what the Cardinals have in their system. All the time, you see a person leave, and there's some other guy that you've never heard of, and he's good. That's what the Cardinals do when they turn those people into Nolan Arenado and the MVP and Paul Goldschmidt. So, the Cardinals are the perfect thing the White Sox should be looking at. It's like, we should get to that level right there. Always competing in our division, which is down. Not necessarily breaking the bank on big-time free agents, but trading for those players and cost certainty for Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt. That would be a little bit better if they went that route. But, you know, the Cardinals are the model franchise. Just ask them.
It seems like their two largest contracts were Mike Leake, $80 million for 5 years in 2016.
That did not work.
No,
Sorry.
and then Dexter Fowler, $82 for 5 years.
That's why they're like F
Keep
free
trading.
agents.
Yeah,
right,
keep
I
trading.
guess. But like,
I mean, they had to give Contreras a pretty significant amount this winter, right?
I think he might have. This is from I think St. Louis today, so I don't know if they've upgraded the Contreras contract. I don't know what it was though. 87.5 for 5. So yeah, they just basically did the Dexter Fowler deal, but for Wilson Contreras. We'll see how that works out. It is this time of year. Everyone's excited about the gifts, the holiday spirit. But what about the basketball? When I throw down on NBA action, it's got to be with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official DraftKings official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can just bet $5 pregame moneyline on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. The Bulls are big favorites against the Knicks tonight. That's tipping off at 6:30. Everyone can combine multiple bets for bigger payouts with DraftKings Sports same-game parlays. And Maryland sports fans, listen up. DraftKings is now live in your state. So if you're looking to bet on the Bulls tonight, or if you're looking to bet on Damian Lillard, DraftKings does have a boost from minus 210 up to plus 100 for Damian Lillard to score 25 points and to score 2 threes. So download the app now to get on the holiday hoops action. Sign up with code CHGO. Place a $5 pregame moneyline bet on any NBA team to win and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And next up is Pins and Aces. It is that holiday season, and if you do have a golfer in your life, Pins and Aces is the place to go this holiday season. They are the official golf apparel partner of CHGO, and we love our Pins and Aces gear. Our guy Steven was getting tons of compliments on and off the court when he was hitting the links with his Pins and Aces gear this past golf season. And Pins and Aces are a family-owned golf and apparel business, and they make amazing polos, hats, golf bags, and even our favorite beer sleeve, an innovative product that allows you to store 7 beers right inside your golf bag and keep drinks cold the entire round. So again, we've talked about this even having dual purpose on the L. Or maybe if you were riding a plane. You know, I know that you can't bring your own alcohol, but you had a beer sleeve, it's at least cold.
It's not the little bottle. They won't let you on with it without it being in the little bottle.
I didn't know that. I don't try to sneak alcohol.
You could now what you could do is you could perhaps fill a little bottle, like a little hand sanitizer bottle with a bunch of beer and then put them all in the beer sleeve. I don't know how the TSA would look at that, but it's a possibility.
I'm going golfing, guys. Come on.
So check out pinsandaces.com and use code CHGO to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com. All right, let's go into our trades here. We're going to go through the AL West, AL Central, and AL East and try to find some trade partners here. Steven, where do you want to start? AL West, AL Central, AL East?
Let's start with what we know the most, which is the AL Central.
All right, we'll start with the AL Central. And Debbie's saying Chicago sports equals dead, but CHGO sports is alive. So thank you, Debbie. You're true about that. We got like 70 people watching, but only about 10 likes.
We have 11 likes.
We got 100 now.
96 people watching. I want at least 20 by the time we finish the AL Central.
20 likes?
20 likes. We need 9 more to
Steven's
get
calling.
There you go.
at least.
I mean, if you're able to comment, I think you're able to like. So I'm just saying, like, you know, we can probably get it up to 90.
If you like it.
That's true. That's fair.
Don't like it just on.
But I just
saw. We just got it. We just went up.
Steven's call is working. People are answering the call.
Thanks, y'all. All right, let's go into the AL Central here. And Steven is also saying all biggest contracts in White Sox history as well. All those $80 million to Mike Leach, Dexter Fowler, and Wilson Contreras. Let's start at Minnesota. Max Kepler, we talked a little bit about them not getting Carlos Correa, and this has been a rumor on Twitter and such. Matt Kepler and Nick Gordon for Lucas Giolito, just because Kepler had a really great 2019, but it's been a little bit downhill since. We know how good he is against Lucas Giolito, so maybe we trade Giolito to the Twins, get Kepler, and start kicking ass.
What was that fake trade that you just said?
Kepler and Nick Gordon for Lucas Giolito.
I forgot. You didn't hear it. It was so
woof.
It was ridiculous.
Nick Gordon's really bad.
Ugh.
Max Kepler can't really hit very well.
Oh.
So what are you doing? You're trading the guy who might be your third starter for a defense only outfielder?
In division.
Sounds like signing Andrew Benintendi.
Oh, your hatred for Andrew Benintendi lives on.
Max Kepler's got more home runs.
Yeah, but Andrew
One of them
Benintendi's
played in Yankee Stadium.
A better player. One of them is a much better player.
It looks like this is just a straight up pass on Max Kepler right now.
100%.
Not at all. I mean, hey, with it's not a below 90 OPS plus in the past 2 years. It's a 96 OPS plus in the past 2 years.
Max Kepler's that guy who, if he were a free agent and they signed him to be the fourth outfielder, you'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. He's like the Victor Reyes minor league deal.
Not quite that bad.
A little bit better? Yeah. I don't know. I think Max Kepler, just trading in division is going to be a weird and probably not likely scenario just because all of these teams are so close.
You're not wrong. That's true. But at the same time, you throw that out the window to get better, I think. And I think that that thing that they always said, which is, the Cubs and the Sox, they'll never do a deal because of the crosstown rivalry kind of thing. I mean, the trades that they've made have been, at the time they were made, certainly very beneficial for both sides.
Yep.
Almost obvious trades, because it was like, both teams are getting exactly what they need right now. So why wouldn't that logic apply to a team within your division? I understand that you're competing with them on a regular basis. The idea of seeing, if you were to do that silly made-up trade, Lucas Giolito pitching against you 4 or 5 times a year would not be palatable. But the point being that, listen, it's about getting better and competing for a World Series, not competing just to be the top dog of the 3 or 4 teams that are competing in a division in a given year.
If it wasn't Giolito, like a lower price, would you be interested, or is it just not?
I mean, what's a low price? Like if they could trade Connor Pilkington again for Max Kepler, yeah, sure. But.
And that trade too, I was just trying to figure out like where Cleveland was. They were 8 games back too at that point when they traded Pilkington for Cesar Hernandez. Yeah. So it did make sense. I just don't know right now, especially with how close it was, if there would be an ideal swap here. Let's go to the next team, though. I think it's the Royals. And
while I'm doing that, I want to point out we did get up to 34 likes now.
Wow, 34.
Yeah,
Walter Payton's number.
How about that? We're only one team in.
And Matt Trusk, very close to Matt Tusk, said, I liked, but I didn't like doing it, with a smiley face. But we appreciate you doing it, Matt. We appreciate you moving your mouse over there, or even just hitting a little like on your finger. But you missed this rumor.
I did see this rumor.
Oh, you did see this.
And I scoffed when I read it on my phone, yes.
So Sal Perez is the person we're looking at Kansas City. I don't know if this is pie in the sky because I didn't even make this one up. This is just from Ken Rosenthal. Why'd you scoff?
It seems very unrealistic. Because of the same thing we said yesterday when we were talking about, maybe a Blue Jay, bringing in one of these Blue Jays guys. I'm sure we're going to talk about the Blue Jays coming up. But, any one of these catchers that might be on the market, what are you going to do with Yasmani Grandal? Like, if you're not able to move him in this trade, you're bringing in Sal Perez, and so you have Sal Perez and Yasmani Grandal, and what happens then? You're paying both of them a significant amount. It just, the pieces need to fit together, and I don't see a catcher piece, or I should say a catcher piece of that caliber fitting as long as Grandal is still on the roster, because you're paying him so much. You're not going to pay him to be a backup. You're not going to pay him to play once a week. You're going to have to pay him to be your catcher or be an everyday guy of some fashion. Sal Perez would be great for the White Sox. They could use some power, and certainly his relationship with Pedro Grifol would probably filter through the clubhouse if he was able to go in there and tell everybody how great Pedro Grifol is. But it seems like a very hard thing to do if you have to have both him and Grandal as your 2 catchers.
I just think that Kansas City would be so opposed to it. I know they have a different
face of their franchise
general manager there, so he might be feeling different because he didn't draft Sal. He didn't come up.
He did.
Oh, did he?
Their new GM has been employed by them for like 2
I thought
decades.
he was a Tampa guy.
No, he's
a Kansas City guy.
They hired the Tampa guy.
I messed up.
Or manager.
So I think it's not the same like as you're doing the Pilkington for Cesar Hernandez deal. That's a big star, and the Royals would loathe seeing their guy in Chicago doing well. And as we feel about the Royals, I'm sure they feel about us, and doing deals with them is probably a no-go always.
I think it makes sense why they might be interested in trading Sal Perez, because they do have MJ Melendez and a couple other like catching prospects coming up, and just the idea of getting younger, but trading him to the White Sox, I think.
And for what?
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're going to trade, I don't know if you would say Sal Perez is still the Royals' best player. Certainly 2 years ago he was. If he is, well, what are you getting? What are you getting back from the White Sox in this situation? You have to get a haul to help your future, your long-term future. I'm not sure the White Sox are even able to put that package together.
Well, Mark Payton did go to, Brother Rice?
No, Rita.
And then they'll have the Naperville Central guy and then the Brother Rice guy.
And he's projected to have a 110 weighted runs created plus.
It's too many.
Bunch of Chicagoans there. They love it.
There you go. So maybe no on Sale Perez. I just thought, it would be very, very weird, very, very odd. I could see them trading him like next year when he's got 2 years left of control, and Melendez probably ready to take it over, but I don't think they're going to trade him to the White Sox. Let's go to the next team, and I think it's the Cleveland team. Shane Bieber, starting pitcher. There was two. I was looking up just like possible trade options and just things that people have wrote. The two names around Cleveland that stuck out to me that people were like, oh, Cleveland could trade them. Shane Bieber and your guy, who you think is better than Tim Anderson, Ahmed Rosario, because they could then move Jimenez over to shortstop where he's a natural shortstop. So Shane Bieber having 2 years left to control, we know that Cleveland likes to sell high before they get run out of town. Do they try to get some value on Shane Bieber? I don't know why they trade him to the White Sox, but
no, I don't think so.
Do you see a Cleveland deal at all, though? Like, no, I don't see a Cleveland deal happening.
No, because they've changed their focus. When they traded Pilkington and then Cesar Hernandez, they were bad. They were not going for the division. Now they see that their team is ready to win. They did win last year, won a division or a playoff series, and now picking up Josh Bell, I think they're moving forward. They're trying to win. I mean, Zunino move is not moving the needle that much, but they're moving forward towards, hey, let's start competing with the Yankees and the Astros, not getting up there with the money, but they're not going to be selling off the players. And I think they can afford Shane Bieber nowadays. They don't make that much money. Their payroll's very low still, even after signing Jose Ramirez to a long-term deal. They can keep Shane Bieber instead of giving him away because he's still got great years left to come. It's not like the Kluber when they traded him. It was kind of had on fumes. He wasn't the Kluber of past. Shane Bieber's still up there in pitching.
There's a reason I called this list yesterday the pie in the sky list, and names like Salvi Perez and Shane Bieber are the reasons why. Guardians are not trading.
Blame Ken Rosenthal.
The Guardians are not trading Shane Bieber to the White Sox.
No.
Or any team.
They're done. They're probably not trading him to any team, but they are the Guardians who traded Mike Clevenger and traded Corey Kluber. But they got huge prospect packages in return. So I do not see that happening in a deal with the White Sox, who, as we've discussed, the prospect packages can only be made so big.
Well, I think if there's a team that just won't trade with the White Sox, I don't see the reason why Cleveland would give it.
Well, they did it 2 years ago. They would trade with them. It's got to be the right deal. You can't just say like, oh, the Guardians aren't answering a phone because they see Rick Hahn's name on the caller ID.
If we're saying like the next trade that the White Sox have been talking about that Rick Hahn seems like they've been preparing for, it really doesn't seem like the major league for major league swap that's going to happen is going to be with the Cleveland Guardians. Like maybe a lower level deal where they're trying to figure out depth and stuff like that. I could see that happening for sure, but I don't see like Ahmed Rosario or Shane Bieber or any of the likes of that helped Cleveland get to the division last year coming over to the White Sox.
You're talking about a big trade.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, like, are we really going to have like a 40-minute segment on like a minor league swap between these two teams?
No.
I don't know. Is it the only thing that's going to happen over the next 2 months? Maybe.
Oh, that's
Come on, Rick.
We talked about Victor Reyes for a while.
I don't want it, Rick. Come on. That seems possible, though.
Oh, it does. Let's go to the next team, and it's going to be the Detroit Tigers. Gregory Soto, the relief pitcher, left-hander, flamethrower. I don't think they need more bullpen, but I don't know who Detroit has that would even be like.
All you guys want to keep trading Liam Hendricks. So if the wish of White Sox fans come true and Liam Hendricks gets traded somewhere for a second baseman, maybe they do go out and get another a surer thing at to fill that hole at closer rather than just promote Kendall Graveman or Reynaldo Lopez, who are no sure thing to be a good dominant ninth inning guy.
Yeah,
but that does seem. That would be way down the list of priorities, I would imagine.
Right, and like Scope would make sense too, because like he plays second base, but like Scope is exactly. I think you talked about this when you were looking at getting rid of Josh Harrison. It was players who were both good offensively and good defensively, and like Scope, great defensively, horrible at the bat. And it's just like I don't think the White Sox can find that perfect marriage for second base, and I don't think it's going to come from Detroit. And
you're certainly not going to give up something in order to get a guy who is zero at one of those two elements. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. And you talk about the bullpen and Liam and like, the idea that, the trade piece might have to come from there. Later on, I have my trade piece and I'm pulling from the bullpen, but I don't even think they need to pull from the top. Like they don't have to pull from even Kendall or Liam to improve this team. So we'll see what happens with this bullpen. And speaking of bullpen, Vinnie wrote about it on allchgo.com. It's free and unlocked. You
wrote about trades in
Liam.
general. Yeah, I mean, kind of bouncing off of that idea because Liam's name is really the only one that's been brought up in terms of those rumors that fly around every hot stove season as someone who the White Sox would be listening on. I'm sure the White Sox are listening on everybody. They wouldn't be doing their jobs if they weren't, as Rick Hahn is fond of pointing out. But I think it would be silly, as I've said many times on here, to trade for the White Sox to trade Liam Hendriks. But it's kind of the idea that even if you find this trade and there's a team that's going to deal you a guy who fills one of the holes that you're looking to fill, do the White Sox have the ability to do that without creating another hole? Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure they do right now in terms of making that major league for major league swap, at least in terms of going and getting an impact player. You might have to settle for a guy who is maybe unexciting to the fans in terms of your new left fielder, your new second baseman. Maybe this is going to be Josh Harrison all over again at second base, just because how can you go get someone better without creating an even bigger hole elsewhere, whether that's at closer or any of the core guys who we have been discussing for months? Oh, should they trade them? Should they not trade them? You get rid of Eloy to bring in a left fielder and a second baseman. All of a sudden you don't have a DH and you lost your second best bat in the lineup after already losing Abreu. So
I think I tried to Goldilocks my trade to get in that nice sweet spot for the White Sox. I read your article and I was like, how do we make this just perfect? And that's why I think you always say it has to hurt when you make trades. That's why I don't think mine is going to happen or it will be realistic. But hey, we'll get to it. We are going to take a quick break and let you know about the DraftKings pick of the week. I am going to go to college bowls. We are going to go to Saturday. We just had a CHGO bet show with Cody where we went through all of the bowls coming up all the way till Monday. And I think your pick of the week ended up being Southern Miss -6.5. I also do like BYU SMU over 64. But those are the two picks I like. Also, Washington State +3.5. So there you go. There's 3 picks of the week for DraftKings bowl weekend coming up. And if you are looking to bet on the bowl season coming up, there's 37 college bowl games coming up that you can bet on and kind of boost the fun of watching them. No, not yet.
So many. Are we hosting? There might be one out in the alley where Herb broke his leg.
That, or I heard the rumors about the whole AH thing, the Arlington Heights thing. If they get a dome. Oh boy,
the Arlington Heights Bowl.
Well, if they get a dome, they're going to need a sponsor. I'm just saying, CHGO something. CHGO what bowl?
The Arlington Heights Bowl.
Yeah.
The CHGO presents the Arlington Heights Bowl.
There you go. Done.
Yeah. All right. Doesn't have, it's not that zippy.
The village of Elk Grove Village sponsored a bowl.
They did have a bowl in the Bahamas Bowl.
The Bahamas Bowl, yeah.
It was the village of Elk Grove Village.
Elk Grove Village.
Makers won it, yeah.
Oh,
I think it's called the Makers Won It Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my God.
Well, it was 5 years ago. Who knows what it's been shifted to at this point?
I don't know. Does DraftKings have a bowl?
Probably.
All right. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code CHGO. And also, if you are going to be betting on the NFL and you are a new customer, place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And our next partner, Chi-Town Cornhole. We were able to use these boards at the tailgates this past fall for the Bears season. Chi-Town Custom Cornhole are the #1 cornhole provider for Chicagoland and Illinois since 2007. Our signature box style can be digitally printed, covered in vinyl, and painted, and our cornhole boards come with built-in drink holders recessed in on the back, LED lights that light up the hole, and exterior handles for easier carrying and handcrafted scorekeepers. They're veteran-owned and operated, and they can also ship anywhere, but also offer local pickups. They specialize in corporate designs for your company's next marketing, social event, wedding gifts, and gifts for all occasions like the holidays. So check out their website, ChiTownCornhole.com, and make sure to follow them on Instagram at Chi-Town Custom Cornhole Boards. Thank you very much for helping us out and sponsoring us at Chi-Town Cornhole. And I know it's the last thing you want to do right now is go outside and probably play cornhole, but summer's coming up.
Put it inside.
Or put it inside. There you go. I mean, we have enough space here with the loft to be able to play bags. I worry about.
I'm hoping when you're playing bags, you're not throwing them a normal 8 feet high in the air to
hit a regular
ceiling.
You can't be throwing line drives.
8 feet? That's a lot. I think you can successfully play bags inside.
I like an arc on mine, so I don't know. 8 feet isn't great.
We have a loft space, so yeah, this is
in here. I'm talking even in a regular home.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And we do see this down at the bottom, so I do want to give a shout out to this before we go into the AL West or AL East. We do have gift memberships also available for this holiday season. CHGO memberships can make the perfect gift for the diehard sports fan in your life, and the membership comes with a shirt, sticker pack, and a membership card all in a box. So if you are looking for someone to give the gift of an All-City gift membership to this holiday season, check out allchgo.com. I think you can, that's the direct, allchgo.com is where you can find that, and I think it's on the homepage. So make sure you are checking that out if you're looking for some gifts this holiday season. All right, let's get into the AL West here, Steven. We got Mike Trout. For the Angels.
All right.
Cool.
So
they
said they didn't want to trade Ohtani.
So you go to the next guy.
You got to trade two guys?
Or the higher guy. I mean, like Vinnie said, pie in the sky. This is even higher than pie in the sky. I mean, no.
This is a whole cake in the sky.
Yeah, the team for Mike Trout, yes, they would have to put every one of their players currently on the team for Mike Trout. And if they want to, do that, cool, fine. But, yeah, the Angels are like, no, we're good.
Money
we're
will
really
be
good.
spent. Why not spend it on Mike Trout?
We get 30,000 people here at the Angel Stadium. Our money's good.
Yeah,
Artie's good.
You're not spending the money on Mike Trout. You're spending all of your players on Mike Trout. I don't think Major League Baseball would even allow like a 30-for-1 swap.
What? It doesn't get done with Luis Robert?
No.
Eloy said he's the next Mike Trout.
Okay.
Eloy thinks Luis Robert's the next Mike Trout.
So what? I mean,
but they have the current Mike Trout for like 12 more years, don't they?
9 more years.
9 more years. They would only have Luis Robert for like 6 or 5.
That's true. $285 million left on his contract for 9 years. That's $31.6 million per year. For Mike Trout?
Yeah, it's a drop in the bucket.
Good deal. That's a good deal.
I mean, I would love to acquire him, but yeah, the whole White Sox staff or team, including Dylan Cease, would have to go to the Angels.
And Ethan Katz.
Everybody, yeah.
And Southpaw.
Yes.
And Eminem's jacket guy.
and Benetti.
And Benetti.
Benetti.
It'll be you and Vinnie and Mike Trout playing
there you
for
go.
the White Sox.
That's the team. Yeah.
They
might even have to uproot 35th Street Red Hots to get Mike Trout.
All right, so Mike Trout's a no. Let's go. I mean, do the Angels at all, like as a team, interest you? Like, if you were you looking at the Angels and be like, oh, maybe not Mike Trout, but this player could stick out. Like,
I mean, they've shown interest in moving Shohei Ohtani. While that is also really hard, and you would have to trade a lot of people, that player is worth trading a lot of people for because of the bat and the pitching. So,
but they've got 24 other guys on the roster, I think is the point. You know what I mean? Like, if we're laughing at Mike Trout, we should probably laugh at Shohei Ohtani. The question is, do they have anybody else? And, maybe.
Well, and I know it's just
what about
the
their
GM saying, but the GM did say they're not trading Ohtani this offseason. Okay. So that's why I didn't go with Ohtani.
What about Fletcher?
Dave Fletcher?
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely available.
Yeah.
He used to be good.
Is he good, though?
He's under a lot of team control. He's got a very long contract, if memory serves.
Signed through 2025. Mm-hmm. He's got a team option for 2026 and 2027. He's making about $5 million a year.
Perfect.
Was great in the pandemic year, 120 OPS plus, but outside of that, he's been around an OPS plus of 87 in the past 2 years, about 71 plus. So
it's not great.
It's like kind of having Leury Garcia.
Oh, they already have one of those.
Yeah, I don't know. And he only plays second base, so I'm not sure if I'd be signing up for Fletcher. Because they kind of had him in Nick Madrigal, and he just wasn't that good.
Leury for Fletcher swap straight up?
I'd do it. Even though that's Hall of Fame ballot.
Bound.
Bound Leury Garcia with his 10 years. With that contract, they got him on the Hall of Fame ballot.
Herb, you like trading for prospects that don't work out. Joe Adele, would that interest you?
No. I don't think he's good at all. I don't think he's good at baseball. Jarrett Kelenic, I just think needs a different
Oh, you just like Jarrett Kelenic.
Yes, I think the player is actually good. He's just in the wrong situation because the owner was talking shit about him.
You folks might not be able to see this on the live stream, but Herb, I looked over, and Herb's got the Major League Baseball trade simulator machine up on his phone.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, that thing is broken.
Yes.
It is.
It's bad.
I'm just trying to add money to my deal that I'm going to make later on because I know you guys are going to shit on the deal.
Oh, boy. All right.
Especially Connor.
Bad
He
Joe
doesn't appear
Adele.
to be in the chat.
Oh, KPW,
today.
that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, that Connor, not Connor Smith.
I mean, maybe this is just something that Joe Adele needs a new place just because he hasn't had the ability to get full playing time in LA and he hasn't been good. Never
Former
an
top
OPS
3
plus.
prospect.
What's that?
Former top 3 prospect.
Yeah.
Yes, former top 3 prospect.
Sounds like Steven's all aboard the Joey.
I'm a big
train.
prospect guy, but no, I wouldn't be.
Well, I mean,
You're
in
a
the
big
past,
prospect guy until they hit the majors and don't work, and then you're like, nope.
Yep. That guy was a failed project.
he had a 920 OPS in Salt Lake. That's AAA last year, and he's still got like a 3.6 year difference there. In 2021, he had a 934 OPS in Salt Lake. Like
Again, PCL.
It's that high altitude. It's basically
PCL.
Coors Part 2.
Well, hold on, but it was in the AAW it was in the AAA West last year. So he had a 934 last year in a different league.
Yeah,
he had a worse
he's
OPS than the PCL.
He's sitting in Utah Coors.
Yes, he's in Utah Coors, Salt Lake. Damn it.
Just called Coca-Cola.
right.
I can't drink alcohol.
Oh, yeah, we did. I think AJ called them Coca-Colas, but we came up, new nickname, Pop.
Oscar Pop.
Oscar Pop. Colas.
Oscar Pops. You have to have that S on the end.
Pops.
Colas.
Oh, because
Pops.
Chicago?
Yeah. Oscar Pops. I love it. I'm all
Oscar
about
Pops. There you go.
it. Or Oscar Royal Crown Colas would also be pretty good, I think.
No one drinks RC.
They have it. The Bears press box has RC Cola in it.
Yeah, Bears has Diet Pepsi and 7-Up and like Squirt.
If you go to a pizza place in Chicago and they don't have RC, turn right back around. That place is shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
Oscar Royal Crown Colas.
I will say that
That's perfect.
the best place I know in the South Side is Milano's, and they have RC. So maybe I should stop shit talking. All right, let's go to the next team. It's going to be Oakland. Ramon Laureano. We tried naming.
You skipped over Marco Gonzalez on purpose.
Damn it! No, that was not on purpose.
Okay.
Seattle. Marco Gonzalez. You also brought up the GM shitting on Kelenic. He was also
Not the GM, the owner.
Oh, well,
When the owner was like saying that they're going to manipulate his service time to a bunch of people in a public forum, and then he got suspended.
Right, but he also
You talking about Jerry DePoto?
that same guy, whoever that guy,
owner.
I don't know if he was the owner, but
Okay.
whoever that guy was also said like Julio Rodriguez wouldn't make it in the majors or something like that because he couldn't speak English. Wrong.
Well, firstly, Julio Rodriguez speaks English, and then secondly, that was dumb. This
So
owner
wrong
should-
on both counts.
This owner should be fired or bought out for his dumbass opinions.
I don't think it was the owner though.
Yeah, so it was just a bad time. But for Marco Gonzalez, I mean, I think our pitching staff is pretty set unless we're going out and getting Carlos Rodon, which I know that's not happening. The only pitcher out there that I would say, hey, the White Sox could have this guy and then move on from Lucas Giolito would be Carlos Rodon, because then you were getting a top of the rotation guy. Marco Gonzalez is a bottom rotation guy that wouldn't do really, I don't think, much better than what Lucas Giolito did last year. And I don't think he would do what Lucas Giolito is going to do in 2023, which I think is going to be return to common form of what Lucas Giolito usually is.
Well, that's what I'll keep bringing up every time we talk about, could they go get another starting pitcher? Who are you kicking out of this rotation? And because here's the thing, I'm not saying that the White Sox have 5 aces and that there's no reason to go that they shouldn't upgrade. But they have 5 starting pitchers, including one they just signed to a free agent contract. They do not have a second baseman. They do not have a left fielder. If you're going, why would going and getting a starting pitcher be at the top of the priority list at all right now when you've got a full boat and you've got actual holes everywhere else?
Yeah,
Don't give up somebody that is going to create another hole to give yourself a problem, and that you can't get rid of. Now you have to go get rid of another starting pitcher.
yeah, and Marco Gonzalez isn't even that good. Like I think
I'll keep asking that
people
too.
were looking for like left-handedness, and I think that's why people were Marco
Yeah.
Gonzalez might intrigue, but I'd rather have 5 good right-handed pitchers than 4 good right-handed pitchers and 1 bad left-handed.
And I'll keep asking this too. Like they just signed Clevenger. Do we think? Is it like this slam dunk guarantee that Mike Clevenger's better than Lucas Giolito?
No.
Like, wouldn't you rather hold on to Giolito? Wouldn't you rather have Giolito than the guy you just signed?
Yeah,
basically.
right.
So
Well,
I understand Lucas frustrated a lot of fans last year. He frustrated the hell out of himself last year with his performance. But the pounding the table, get rid of Giolito, get rid of Giolito. I mean, they just signed a guy. The guy they just signed is not as good as Giolito, maybe.
he could be. I
He
think.
could be, but yeah.
No, I would take, if I'm betting on someone to have a better season in 2023, I'm betting on Giolito. And if I'm betting out of the 5 guys in the White Sox rotation, I'm betting on them having a better season than Marco Gonzalez. I don't see a deal being made with Seattle, because it seems like the White Sox and them have the same needs. And also Seattle was very aggressive filling those needs. They needed a left fielder. They got Teoscar Hernandez. They needed a second baseman. They went out and got Colton Wong. Like, I don't think Seattle is just going to be a good trade partner for the Sox because they had such similar needs going into the offseason. They already filled those needs. They wouldn't trade away from those.
If those are the two guys that the White Sox got, in addition to Clevenger, most people would be like over the moon.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that would have been great.
And just to finish it out, it was Kevin Mather who was the president of the Seattle Mariners, and he did say this stuff about Kelenic to a group in 2021 that they manipulated service time in 2020, and then he did say something about Hakasi Iwakuma and Julio Rodriguez and how they don't speak English well. So yes, he resigned.
Yes, president of the
because he was a
Mariners.
turd. Still is probably.
No, he resigned the next day.
Yeah, still a turd.
Oh, it's still a turd. I thought you said still president.
No, still a turd.
All right, let's go to the next team. And Connor's, our resident Blue Jay fan, is still pissed off by the Teoscar trade. Oakland, Ramon Laureano, this is a guy that could fill a hole.
Sure.
Corner outfielder.
He's not that expensive.
Yeah, I'm going to say, wouldn't cost the White Sox that much of actual players. Nobody probably on the Major League roster. Middling minor league prospect. And a guy with a cannon of arm. He could play right field for the White Sox right now. I don't know. His power has been kind of not a thing since, the 80-game suspension for steroids. Whatever. It's a move that is minor where it could help you out eventually. His arm is just that good, so is his defense kind of.
Well, I think the big thing that really sticks out is, you talk about the defense. He's got a cannon of an arm, got great range, but yes, the power has dipped off, but what he does great is still make great contact. His barrel rate has always been top 70th percentile. So
Matthew.
Oh, and Matthew Cortese sits there and have a right fielder.
I got it.
He can play a great left field. I just think that it would be an interesting guy because he is cheap and he does have stuff that I think is very underlying that could turn around. His batting profile isn't terrible. His defense isn't terrible. He runs the bases all right. It's kind of hitting everything at kind of an okay level.
There's your Connor Pilkington for Cesar Hernandez trade.
Perfect.
That is a low-risk trade right there.
Found one.
Sean Burke for
Ramon Laureano.
Oh,
Sean Burke is a little much.
Too much?
Yeah.
Matthew Thompson for...
Yeah, that sounds
it's all right. It's the A's. It's the A's. They'll take somebody else.
And that guy will turn into a champion.
They will take... And
they'll trade him too.
Yes.
Sebi Zavala.
Remember we traded Chris Bassett? I remember I was like, that guy is trash. So is Marcus Semien. He can't field worth a damn. Whew, friends. Those Oakland A's. They know what they're doing out there.
Yeah. Well, and that is he a guy, too, that if you take him away from Oakland, is he just going to suck? And, I mean, it's not like he has been that good in the past 3 years or so. I don't know. Is Laureano good because the A's as an organization are good?
But is he good? I mean, isn't that Josh Harrison?
It's
kind of left field Josh Harrison.
Yeah.
I mean, past 3 years an OPS plus of 101.
That's a good one. Yeah.
He still I think I don't think he's done yet. I don't think he's cooked. He plays an all right defense. I mean, he'll hustle.
There you go.
There you go, Steven.
I love that.
Yeah, right. I mean, you bring up Josh Harrison.
Old curmudgeon of the group. Yeah, I'm big on that.
So Ramon Laureano's an eye. Let's go to the next one. Got Jose Urquidy. Put him because they almost traded him for Wilson Contreras. I don't think Houston, very much like Cleveland, is very much in that vein of I don't think there's a reason for them to link up.
Well, and now they're an ace starter down as well. They do not have Justin Verlander anymore. They have a very good rotation. Don't get me wrong; it is still a strength of that team, but a team that could win the World Series probably like to keep it that way. And with Verlander gone, everybody moves up a notch in that rotation as well. So, anytime if they were talking about trading their fifth starter the other day, now it's their fourth starter. If they were talking about trading their second starter, now it's their ace. So everybody's a little bit more valuable to them all of a sudden.
It seems like they're after Benintendi and Brantley and Conforto, so they're going after the same people the White Sox would be going after. It doesn't seem like they would have any interest in who the White Sox could offer.
No, and that's fine. There's a team that is solidified, and they're, like Vinnie said, they lost their ace, and I don't think they're even checking for that. Carlos Rodon, no, we're good. We're just going to go with the 5 guys we have on our current staff. We'll be fine.
Also, they just got the White Sox best player.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They did. And for free.
It still hurts.
For free. I guess $60 million.
Yeah, that's not free. But
They didn't give the White Sox $60 million.
hurts.
Let's go to the final team, and that's Josh Smith. He's a utility player for the Rangers. The Rangers
Did he win the dunk contest one year?
He did.
Yeah.
He was an Atlanta Hawk. He was great.
This guy's
Lefty.
white. That guy.
What happened? What happened to him?
So Josh Smith is a utility player, able to play shortstop, third base, left field. He's 25, former second-round pick of the Yankees. If you wanted Joey Gallo, well, he was in the Joey Gallo trade.
Is this the guy that only played 7 games last year or something?
No. Josh Smith he played 73 games in Texas last year, 556 OPS plus, 197. Again, just like Joey Gallo, under 200 batting average.
There you go.
197 batting average, but good walk rate, 307 OBP still. 50 strikeouts to 28 walks, so he's got good contact ability, but just not a lot of power. But in Round Rock, it is the PCL, 861 OPS, 6 home runs, but again, good
Ridiculous.
plate discipline, 54 strikeouts to 33 walks. So he is a guy that bats left, can play kind of everywhere, too Leary-ish.
My thought is that why are you giving up something for guys like this right now? You know what I mean? The White Sox are trying to win the World Series. They need some certainty. They need some. They're not going out and getting prospects right now.
Adolis Garcia, maybe.
But isn't he too good?
No, but that is the person that we kind of need. Yes, they're thinking of competing for third place, second place, but they're trying to, sign everybody while Adolis Garcia might be expendable to them. And then you trade them a player that is, maybe extra for us.
Hey, they have no problem giving absolutely gargantuan amounts of money to everybody. Maybe you send them Yasmani Grandal.
Oh my God!
Right now, Garcia is projected to be their fourth hitter. I just don't know if they're just going to give up their fourth hitter.
Oh, they're not going to give it up. You got to send
it
back, but you send out of a place of strength. I'm sure without Matt Moore there right now, their bullpen is a little suspect. You can send them not Liam Hendricks. You could send them somebody like Kendall Graveman. You could send them Joe Kelly, not Raylo, but you could send them somebody like that, and then freshen up the deal a little bit more, and then get Adolis Garcia,
Joe
player
Kelly
the White
is the
Sox
centerpiece of the Adolis Garcia trade.
No, that would not work.
Yeah, I'm
But I wouldn't trade Raylo because, as Sean believes, I believe that he's a closer of the future, but not now. Even though I'm gonna kind of contradict that in a second.
I wouldn't trade Adolis Garcia. Guy hits 30 home runs and plays great defense.
That's what we need.
Why would they trade him? That's like in the NBA.
Because they got Josh Smith. They got former dunk contest champion Josh Smith.
In the NBA, what you love is guys who are long, play defense, and can shoot threes. What you love in baseball, guys who could play defense and hit home runs. I just don't see why the Rangers would trade a guy like that. That's why I didn't put him on the list. I thought that was too pie in the sky. Mike Trout can make the list.
Yeah, right.
But Adolis Garcia, that's where I draw the line. Let's go to the AL East, and let's go to our headline man, Brandon Lowe of the Tampa Bay Rays is the guy I want to start off with here. We have two other second basemen. We have Gleiber and Brandon Lowe.
Just before you go, let's address the Guardians trading Owen Miller to the Brewers. Player to be named later.
Feel free to address it.
That guy, they're trading that guy on the White Sox. Owen Miller, ISU's finest, he would start for us.
No, he wouldn't.
You don't think he would start for us?
No.
At what position?
Second base.
Is he better than Romy Gonzalez?
No.
If you're pausing to answer that question, then he wouldn't start for
his 77 OPS plus in the past 990 games.
Yes,
I'm all right. Owen Miller does not.
Yeah.
He would start.
Guardians making a lot of moves that earn nothing more than a shrug.
Hey, that player could be named later. You never know what that could be.
He played a lot of first base for him too, with Josh Naylor going over there. They needed to clear up some space.
Yeah, he played first, second, third. He's fine.
800 OPS guy in the minors.
Was he in the PCL?
Cool.
He was not in the PCL.
Let's talk about second basemen, who I guess are a little bit more of upgrades. Vinny's saying Josh Smith is a little too I think Owen Miller fits in that category. We want big names like Gleyber Torres and Brandon Lowe. Which one's more feasible, or which one would make more sense? The Yankees sending over Gleyber or the Rays sending over Lowe?
Both these teams have a lot of depth on the infield. The Yankees, because they've got a lot of guys kind of knocking on the door of the big leagues who play on the infield, not to mention some of the guys they have there already who can move around a bit. the Rays because they're the Rays and they can plug in everybody all the time. I think both of those guys make a lot more sense than most of the people we've been talking about the last 2 days. The question just comes back to what can the White Sox put together to pry those guys away from their teams. I think the depth aspect makes them a little bit more expendable for those teams. But again, you got to give them something that's going to make them say yes to the deal. So I would say that basically, of everybody we've talked about, those two might be the two that I would zero in on here. Torres with the Yankees and then Lowe, who's been an MVP candidate with the Rays in recent years. But as we know, the Rays will trade just about anybody away if they can get a nice package of prospects. Maybe the White Sox could put something together that'd be a little interesting, given that Lowe is under contract for a pretty long time. Maybe they want to remain flexible down there in Tampa, but Torres the same way. I would think, maybe the Yankees see that one piece on the White Sox that, we had that one guy and that boosts our team after we gave all that money to Aaron Judge. I think those are definitely two guys worth pursuing.
Lowe isn't that old, only 28 years old, but and that rhymed nice. Did it?
You rhymed old with old. It's just the same word over
awesome.
again.
Just sounded familiar because it was the same word. But he played about 55 games in 2022, and that's because he had lower back discomfort, no surgery done, but the discomfort didn't subside after multiple injections. So do you really want to be going after a Rays hitter with back issues?
You don't, but you're asking which one's more feasible for the White Sox, and I think, as Vinnie said, the Rays are willing to trade, especially a guy that is getting close to getting really paid, and a guy with back problems. I saw he doesn't play a lot. Like the year he did play a lot, mercy. I tell you what, he is going to be a star if he plays. But we have a lot of those guys. We're chock full of those guys. And maybe
chock-a-block, as they say in Australia.
Is that what they say?
Yeah, instead of chock full of, they say chock-a-block with.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Like literally, we got English, and you just you ruined it when they sent the people down there. But yes, I think maybe you can get him for a smaller package too, because you say, man, he's got all these problems. We got people on our team that already got this. Why would we trade premium people to you for a guy that you want to trade, and we know this is what you want to do? So maybe we can get him for something that's not of Colston Montgomery type of thing. We can
is the gap between Lowe and Gleyber Colson Montgomery, though?
No, I don't think either of those guys would cost you Colson
so
Montgomery.
I would just say with Gleyber being 26, no health issues, has played pretty much every single game in most of his years, 123, 144, 42 out of the 60 in 2020, 127, 140. And, I mean, he's consistently had power. The only two years that he kind of was zapped was 2020 and 2021, but we haven't really seen a lot of players who were bad in 2020 and bad in 2021 bounce back in 2022. He bounced back in 2022. So I'd be thrilled if the White Sox were able to get him, and I think the difference isn't enough where I would be able to be like, all right, I'll take Lowe, who has back issues. Like, give me Gleyber, who's younger, and I think proved himself a little bit more last year.
He just still hasn't been the guy they thought he was going to be, or certainly that the Cubs thought he was going to be one day.
But imagine what the White Sox guy is. I mean, the White Sox don't need you to be the next, who's
exactly.
Great,
no, you're right. They need him to be their seventh hitter, right? I mean, who knows? Maybe it's different.
They just
now
need him to be a good
but
second baseman. We haven't had that in a bit. Like if they have a guy who plays 140 games from that second base, like he's going to get a parade.
The only thing is, fewer games versus the Orioles. Gleyber would hate that. He would hate that a lot, because I remember one year he hit like 13 home runs versus the Orioles. Only that team. Well, and then I don't know what
gets to play the Royals, though.
I think it was like 2019, and he was like, man, I'm just feasting on these motherfuckers.
It was, I remember the run that he went on, but that was also why the Orioles pushed back their left field, because Gleyber Torres was hitting like 13 home runs against them.
I think I was talking about him last year as a great as a guy that the White Sox should have targeted, and that was before he had a better season in 2022. I think Torres makes a ton of sense. Again, it's putting a trade together, and I think it's great to go down these lists of names and stuff like this, but it always comes back to the same thing: who you're going to trade for him.
The only thing that I would mention
there
is
like 2019.
I got it right here. So he batted .394 against them with 13 homers, 20 RBIs, and an OPS of way over 1,000, 1.512.
I mean, that's like Jose Abreu in August numbers. Does the Gleyber thing make less sense, though, if they don't get Correa or Swanson, like
the Yankees.
was that really? Did you think dependent?
That was kind of even last offseason, that was kind of my thought. Oh man, the Yankees really want Correa. They're going to go get Correa. They're just going to be overloaded with infielders. But I think they've got some. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they've got some like multiple young infielders that are coming up and can fill that gap.
Yeah,
really highly rated guys.
Anthony Volpe is their top rated prospect. He's got an ETA of 2023. Oswaldo Peraza just came up and played shortstop for them. He's already up. But yeah, I mean maybe.
And then they got LeMahieu, who bounces around everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've got no problems on that infield. Torres might be expendable. It's just whether the White Sox can give them something they need. I mean, they need pitching, right?
Yeah.
They need pitching. So who can the White Sox give them that would get that?
The only other thing we saw too is, and I do want to mention too. They still have IKF, which I know Yankee fans would hate too. So they still have IKF. But Noah Syndergaard and the Dodgers, and this is from Jeff Passan, are agreement on a contract. No details just yet, but Thor will be a Dodger. I don't think if we have any thoughts on that. But
no.
That sounds like the kind of guy who's going to do really, really well next year.
Really well. And all of his injury issues are going to go away.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I think maybe Gleiber could be a possibility. Let's go to the final names here. I'm not going to even – I put Devers on the list. I don't think the Red Sox are a trade candidate for the Sox. I don't think the two Sox are going to link up here. I just put Devers because they haven't signed a real contract. They let Bogarts walk. They've let a lot of guys walk.
It's like their only player left, isn't he?
Right, but I don't know what they're doing in Boston. So Devers might be available. Danny Jansen and Santander, though, these two guys I think are pretty viable. Santander kind of on the outs in Baltimore because they got a lot of guys coming up and ready to replace him. He's a switch hitting outfielder. And then you also have Danny Jansen. They have Mariano, who I think is their top catching prospect, and then Kirk as well, who's kind of edging them out there.
Yeah, and so Danny Jansen, I guess, is the odd man out and would love them. I think it would take Liam to go back up to Toronto to get Danny Jansen's. And
trading your all-star closer for effectively what might be a backup catcher for you.
Oh, he's going to be a starting catcher for us because then you have.
What's happening with Grandal then?
You gotta find a way to trade him somewhere else and eat the money, because if you get Danny Jansen, he's your starting catcher. I'm believing, and it's going to be
he would be your starting catcher, but I think just maybe that you'd hopefully be able to use Grandal at DH a little bit more, I guess would be the idea, and then you wouldn't have to, force Grandal to be catching that much. Would hopefully save his legs and backup, and maybe the idea would be if we can get Grandal to play 100 games at DH, he could hit 20 home runs or something like that. I mean, I guess that would be the idea.
And then you would have
Aloy's playing left field,
playing a little left field.
Yeah, right.
So you're acquiring Danny Jansen to push Aloy back into left field. You now do not have a closer, and you still don't have a second baseman.
I don't like it.
It's a terrible situation the White Sox have put themselves in, but I think that is probably the most viable thing for them right now. Is since they're only mentioning Liam in the rumors, and he is probably one of their most valuable pieces. It'll be hard. It'll be bad for the team to do this, but I think to acquire talent and maybe go at it in this championship season a different way is maybe what they have to do since they're not going to spend money. I would take Alejandro Kirk 100%. He's my man's. More over Danny Jansen.
I think Jansen's a very fun piece. I don't know what he would do over 100 games. He hasn't only played 100 games once in 2019, but over the past 3 seasons, 119 strikeouts, 63 walks, 115 OPS plus. Like, he gives more, I guess, legitimacy. Thank you to that position for the Sox, but it would just be how do you get that balance between Grandal and Jansen to work out. The other guy that we threw out there is Santander. Do you like him?
I think that's the kind of guy that would be kind of where you're looking at for the White Sox, right? Kind of that middle-level guy that can come in and be an upgrade over the nothing that you currently have, but, isn't going to break the bank when it comes to making a trade. The Orioles are in a good spot in terms of long-term pieces, so maybe they would be looking for some more of a shorter-term return, in that regard, because they almost made the playoffs last year. or maybe they would be okay with taking a guy who's a little even further off because they expect to be contending that far down the line as well. But I think that kind of player, that level of player, would be what would make people happy in terms of the White Sox getting that to fill that gap.
If the White Sox got a player who played 152 games and hit 30 home runs, that would be like, most sold jersey levels. I mean, the White Sox would love that type of consistency out in the outfield. You don't have to worry about who's playing in left field. You don't have to worry about what he's going to do because he just brings a very consistent level of play each and every year. So I think it'd be a fun addition for the Sox, and I think it might be actually feasible just because he is kind of on the outs here. I think Jansen, again, it just doesn't make sense positionally because, again, like how does he fit in when you already have a couple of these holes already? So let's make our prediction.
And the White Sox post-game radio show callers could call him Salamander.
That's true.
Yeah.
They'll call him Salamander in our chat. Let's go to our predictions. When do we think a trade will be made for the Sox? And if we have to say what the trade will be or what the trade will look like, what does it look like? So, Vinnie, peer into your crystal ball here and give us your thoughts.
Well, I used that aforementioned trade simulator thing earlier today, and basically the trade that I'm going to propose here is a good reason as to why it is broken, because this lined up perfectly. Brandon Lowe to the White Sox, who's finished in the top 10 in AL MVP voting in 2 of the last 3 years, for injured Garrett Crochet, or coming back from Tommy John Garrett Crochet, Jorge Vera, and either Jose Rodriguez or Brian Ramos. That seems to be an unrealistic package, in my opinion, but I used the trade predictor machine. They also think very, very highly of Romy Gonzalez. You could put him in like any trade, and it's almost complete all the way. So
you didn't want to cheat?
I didn't want to cheat and put Romy Gonzalez in the trade, but that also seems like the kind of guy that the Rays would use to perfection, doesn't it? So,
I mean, it would be 2 top 10 prospects for the White Sox. Ramos is 5th, Rodriguez is 7th, Vera is 6th. On MLB.com's top 100 or top 30 prospects for the Sox, and
I feel like
Crochet,
I feel like Vera is that guy that it would hurt to part with, right?
Yeah.
Not now, obviously, but he seems to be the guy that the White Sox are very confident in over the long term. He was a big international signing guy. I wouldn't be surprised if that would be the way that makes that hurt. Brian Ramos too is obviously is generating a lot of interest down there in the minor leagues, it seems.
Funny enough, Rodriguez is the one I like the most.
Yeah.
But I think
you like him more than any of these second base shortstop type of prospects the White Sox have, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jose Rodriguez will get a spring training invite. I mean, he's on the 40-man roster, so he'll be in spring training. We'll see what he can do. I mean, I don't think it's out of the question if they don't add at second base and it's a competition between Gonzalez, Sosa, Rodriguez, and Sanchez. I think Rodriguez could win that. I mean, it just depends on how healthy his wrist is. But Vera will be a 2-pitch pitcher. And with Crochet, you already said he's damaged goods. So, I think the Rays, who have dealt with Glasnow and Baz with Tommy John, I don't think they would be turned away from a guy with great size and stuff. So I think it's a kind of fair trade. I don't think it's absurd.
Crochet, I mean, if everybody's talking about him the way that the way White Sox fans talk about him and the way it seems kind of the White Sox are eyeing him, you're talking about a high-powered relief pitcher, right? And so, I mean, if Garrett Crochet is a potential closer for the Rays, let's say, all of a sudden that looks a lot different than trading a guy who's going to be a middle reliever, right?
Is he a closer or is he an opener? For the Rays.
Kevin Cash and the Rays, not a bad point.
He's not a starter, but he can go probably 2 innings. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That might be a perfect spot for Garrett Crochet. I don't hate that trade.
You're gonna hate mine
for the Sox at least.
You're gonna hate mine.
Just make sure it's Ramos and not Rodriguez.
At the beginning of this, and I didn't. I know KPW is gonna be really mad at you. Can put it up, Steven. See, Kevin Biggio and Danny Jansen. I know Danny Jansen's great. Whatever. Liam Hendricks and the Toronto Blue Jays had the worst bullpen in the playoffs last year. I know it was a short series. They didn't get a lot of time to do it, but they had an ADRA. And they have a great closer. Jordan Romano is solid and Canadian, so that works in his favor. But I'm sorry about that. Herb, you love that. Yeah. All right, okay.
He doesn't like Biggio. He's trading Biggio. Well, he's been trading Biggio to the White Sox for the last 6 months.
He's been trading Biggio, and they need to get rid of one of the catchers.
Biggio is not starting second baseman right now. I don't think it would be like Espinal, right?
They're starting second baseman, or a starting second baseman?
Their second baseman, starting second baseman. I think it's Santiago Espinal. If correct me if I'm wrong, KPW. he would fit in the second base spot. Is he good? No, he's not good at all. He's been pretty bad.
Merrifield's their second base right now on roster resource.
He can go to the outfield because he's terrible.
Espinal and Biggio on the bench.
Okay, so I would think that they need to get rid of him, and Danny Jansen needs to go somewhere else. You get a closer of Liam Hendricks' ilk, and he is a guy that's flexible enough. And when Craig Kimbrell came here, Liam famously said, you know what, I don't care where I pitch. Same thing with Craig Kimbrell, even though it turned out to be Liam being the closer. I think Liam could be a perfect 7/8 inning guy or the 9th inning guy if you want to give the not the reigning reliever of the year, but you can give him the 9th inning and have Jordan Romano do the 8th innings. Either way, the Blue Jays get better. I think the White Sox get a lot better. And then, you could do a thing where you pay out the money that Yasmani is owed, or you could do like Vinnie said, 100 games, or Sean said, 100 games at DH. Aloy's playing all the rest of the games at DH, and then some in left field. I think the White Sox are a little bit better team if they do that deal.
I am feeling what Sean's face looked like as you were explaining that trade.
That's
a terrible trade for the White Sox.
You don't like that?
They're getting rid of the guy who might be the best closer in baseball for a catcher that you don't know what you're going to do with, and a second baseman who can't start for a team that you're trying to be as good as.
Well,
but we don't have a catcher. That's an upgrade for catcher for us, though.
So
right?
you're going to get Jansen's not going to be a free agent until 2025. So you would have an idea long-term-ish or short-term-ish after Grenzal's done in 2023. So you'd have a catcher for 2024. Biggio plays everywhere, but he's a good defender and he runs well.
He's a left-hander
and he walks. So it's just about like that. Like, he doesn't hit the ball or strike the ball very well. He's not very powerful, but he'll get on base and play defense and run well. So I think the fact that the White Sox get 2 players is huge for them because they just don't have a lot of guys, but I would not do this deal just because Liam is Liam, and I think that you can get much more than just really Danny Jansen, because I don't know if Biggio is that much of an upgrade. And, Biggio is a plus defender at 3 to 4 positions, but I also have heard that about Leury Garcia. And I know that they're different players, and Biggio has a 10-plus, walk rate over his career, but I don't know. It does feel feels dicey.
Okay.
To trade your closer like that.
It's very.
Do you trust Ray Lowe enough?
No, I don't.
So I don't know. I don't know about that.
But like I said before, it's not ideal. They've put themselves in a spot where trading Liam Hendricks is not what you want to do, but is what you have to do.
The more I thought about it, the less I hate it, but I don't love it.
What do you got, Sean?
I have something from yesterday. I'm not going to the American League. I'm going to go to the San Francisco Giants, mainly just because we can say yes, and we can have Hawk Harrelson come back and have a little
young Yaz.
Yeah, have a little chat with old Yaz while young Yaz.
Also,
back.
You got to write up there, Steven. Sox get Hawk Harrelson back in the booth.
Yes,
under this trade.
So Sox get
part of the deal. Yeah,
Mike Yaz Stremski. Giants get Gavin Sheets, Jimmy Lambert, and Cole Seamas. Seamas, I think, is top 20, or no, I think he's later half of the top 20 for the Sox. He's 18. 18 is estimated time of arrival is 2024. He's 22 years old. Last pitched in Double-A for the Sox. Great K numbers, 10 plus in K per 9, but walks the yard. Big whip numbers. Not a lot of great production outside of the Ks. So I do think that, especially with San Francisco, they'll put him in the pitch lab. Maybe he's an interesting piece. But then with Jimmy Lambert and Gavin Sheets, if you put Gavin Sheets in right field in that Oracle Park wall, doesn't have to run that far, right? And maybe you'd be able to get some power, but he would be mainly a fourth outfielder for them because they have Jock and they have Haniger, who they just signed. I do think that they have Jock potentially playing DH, but also Brandon Belt's leaving as well. So Sheets could possibly fill up first base as well. And then Lambert fills out that bullpen. It's not the greatest trade in the world, but they're getting 2 major league players for a guy that I think is kind of out on the skirts for the Giants. So
I think it's a good trade for the White Sox. I'm not sure the Giants say yes to that one.
I think it's the opposite. I think it's a good trade for the Giants because you're getting Jimmy Lambert, and they're going to turn him into a starter, and he's going to be a stud out there.
No, he won't be.
Yes, he will.
Then why wouldn't the White Sox turn him into a starter?
Because
why wouldn't the White Sox just take Jimmy Lambert and turn him into a starter?
It's really hard to do
$8 million on Clevenger.
It's really hard to do to turn a reliever into a starter over off season, and they don't know the certainty of Jimmy Lambert if he is going to be a stud. The Giants have the availability to do that because they're in the NL West. So they're like, okay, who cares? We're going to lose to the Dodgers and the Padres. Let's just spend a year having Jimmy Lambert being our fifth starter. The White Sox can't do that. If the White Sox came back and say, hey, we got our guy, our reliever last year that was pretty good. We found a great role, and we're going to turn him into a starter.
The Giants 2 years ago just the Giants are in a position to win, too. They just spent $350 million on their shortstop. Yeah. And 2 years ago, when the White Sox were AL Central champions, they won 107 games. Like, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know why the Giants are in a better position to make Jimmy Lambert a starter when he was already a starter, too. It's not like he was just a reliever his whole career.
Yeah. You guys in that, yeah. Front office loves that trade, says Matthew Cortese. I think everybody involved with the White Sox should like that trade because they get an everyday outfielder for a guy who might be their sixth best reliever and a guy who is not an everyday player.
But currently is.
Well, but he's not. I mean, he would have to be if the season started today. But yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that deal gets done. The pluses, though, good defender, and if you took his numbers, the StatCast numbers by expected home runs, he'd have he said 73 home runs in the past 4 years. If you put him in the White Sox over those past 4 years, he would have 98. So I just do think the power is really there, 20-plus home runs. He's an all right defender. I think it's a good fit, but he's 31. I don't know how much value a guy who's 31 has. Do I need to go over the moon for Gavin Sheets and... No, he's not dead, and he does have team control for, I think, 2 more years.
31's not that old. It's just over your prime years. He could still hit. He could still do some work. But I think that's way too much of a give for the White Sox.
Guys, I did take your 3 trades here, and I put it into a poll on YouTube. The question was, which player would you be most interested in the Sox trading for? Brandon Lowe, Mike Yastrzemski, and Kevin Biggio.
Why did you put Biggio as the perfect?
Should have been Danny Jansen.
It was a bigger need. That's why I picked between the two, and we don't need another catcher. Who's going to start? I don't even know. Brandon Lowe was the overwhelming winner here with 50% of the vote. Biggio was second with 27, and Yastrzemski was third with 23.
Name recognition.
But
name recognition. One of
Biggio and Yaz.
Biggio
and Yaz.
I didn't say what the returns were or anything like that. I just said which player would you be most interested in trading for.
All right.
You think there's 85-year-old dudes doing polls? There's people who've seen Craig Biggio play. Nobody's seen Carl Yastrzemski play.
He won a Triple Crown.
I understood that in 1967 with Jim Lombard.
For the Carmines.
Yeah, Enrico Petrocelli.
Was it 67 or 76?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it was 67. That was the year the Red Sox did a lot of good things.
Anyways, that's going to do it for our show. 54 thumbs up and 1 dislike. So we'll take all of those likes. If you still are around, make sure to like the video. We would appreciate 110 of you watching. Thank you very much. Shout out to Other Sean, AJ, Matthew Cortese, Kevin, KPW for hanging out with us and everyone else in the chat. Thank you to Vinnie. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. And again, he has a brand new post on All CHGO talking about the White Sox and trades and how it just seems weird.
Seems tough.
Seems weird
hard
and tough.
Yep.
I was right. It was 67.
Okay. And the man in the middle who knows all of Carl Yastrzemski's baseball reference page by heart, Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter.
Every single day of his career, 23 years as a Boston Red Sox.
Sounds about right. Sounds about like 70s baseball.
And he made a bunch of all-star teams.
And no money. And you can follow him on Twitter at ActonWall23. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. And thank you very much. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Go Sox.